What's up, beautiful people? So it is my hope that I can spend a few minutes with you and share my son's story, and so that you can see what God has done for us. This is our testimony. Oh, I forgot to tell you. If you stick around to the end, I got a surprise from you from my son, what he says that will truly bless all of you. So don't miss that. It's right at the end. So in the summer of 2022, while my son was at a basketball camp, we get a phone call that said he collapsed. So my wife and I, we rush over to where he's at and we take him to the emergency room. And when we get to the emergency room, they check the cardiology, they check his neurology, they check all these things that he's gonna make sure he didn't have a seizure. We couldn't figure out what happened to him. And so we had to take him to a first-time seizure clinic. Everything checked out. Everything looked good. You know, the EKG was good. The neurology tests were good. Everything looked good. And so, you know, we were scared and we were nervous and we had no real answers, you know. I talked to a few friends and they said, yeah, when their child was young, they did have an incident like that, but it only happened once. And I was like, okay, maybe this was a one-off type thing. So about a year goes by and my son is at basketball practice and he collapses again. So my wife and I, they call 911. By the time I get to the gym, you know, he's in the back of the ambulance, but he's, you know, somewhat alert and they check his numbers. All the numbers are fine. They can't figure it out. His blood sugar is fine. His blood pressure is fine. Everything looks good, but he's not totally alert yet. So I drive him to the emergency room again. We spend hours there again. They check cardiology looks good. Neurology looks good. What in the world is going on? However, this time they said it looks like he was a little dehydrated. So, okay. So we take him to the cardiologist again to make sure everything is good. And after they finish their test, they agree everything looks fine. Maybe he has what's called vasovagal syncope. Okay, what is that? So we research, we learn more. Vasovagal syncope, your blood pressure drops very quickly and it causes you to faint. A lot of times it happens when you're dehydrated. Some people have triggers that cause it. Sometimes it's extreme exhaustion. Okay, so what can we do to combat this? We start figuring it out. We start trying to figure out how to keep them hydrated, how to keep them cool. We try to figure all these things out. So fast forward, it's this year, he makes the basketball team at school. He's excited to be on the team. We're excited for him. His first game of the season, he goes in with about 3 minutes left in the first quarter, and he plays hard for about 2.5 minutes. And they call a timeout, and as he walks to the bench, he sits down. He looks across the floor at me, and he taps his chest like, I'm struggling to breathe. So I stand up, and I start walking that way. Then I look at him, and he's starting to like lay his head in his teammate's lap, and his teammate was looking like, dude, what's wrong with you? And I can tell he's about to collapse. So I start running now, and I get to him just in time. He stands up, I guess, to probably try to get to the floor, and I catch him and I lower him to the floor. And, you know, everybody spreads out. They have a fan, they're cooling him off. Now, this is the first time he's ever collapsed and came back to within like 15 minutes. Normally it'd be hours that he's like in a daze. He's slowly coming back, but this time it was quick, you know. So we took him outside in the cool air. They called 911. You know, the ambulance came. They check everything again. All his numbers are fine. Blood pressure is good. He's able to respond to all the neurological tests. He's doing fine. Why is this happening? We tried to stay hydrated. So about a month goes by. And I had to take my oldest son to practice. So my wife took my son to the game. And she texts me. She says, baby, I'm nervous. I said, don't be nervous. Just breathe and enjoy watching your son play the game. And she texts me. She says, he looks. And then the text stopped. And I'm like, looks what? What does he look? And then the next moment, my phone rings and she said, it happened again. He collapsed again. This time within the first quarter. He finally gets to start. He's excited to start and he collapses again. So same thing. He comes back to very quickly. my wife and I decide we're not going to let him play anymore until we can get him back into the cardiologist. So I text a friend of mine whose husband also deals with vasovagal syncope. And she has a friend that's a doctor that studies vasovagal syncope. So I text her and I asked her, please reach out to your doctor friend and ask them for any guidance, any wisdom to help us help our son make sure he doesn't have these episodes so frequently. Because we got the word that he had vasovagal syncope. Why not reach out to someone who studies this disorder? So she recommends that we take him to Vanderbilt Hospital to a specific cardiologist. Let's just call him Dr. A. So my wife gets on the internet and she finds Dr. A. She sets an appointment for Dr. A. He can't get in till January 30th. Okay. Is there anyone else we can, or December 30th, I'm sorry, anyone else we can connect with in his office? Is there another doctor in the practice? And so they give us an earlier appointment with Dr. B, right? So now we're supposed to see Dr. A, but Dr. B is who we're going to see. Here's where God steps in and is amazing for us. Dr. A is going to retire soon, and Dr. B is going to get his patients anyway. So we skipped all the red tape and got straight into Dr. B. Dr. B was wonderful. She was wonderful. She put my wife's heart at ease, everything. So here's what happened. The first day we go see Dr. B, instead of just ordering the EKG, which he's had plenty of, she orders an echocardiogram. An echocardiogram is like it's like a ultrasound of your heart. And is immediately after doing the echocardiogram, she comes in the room and she says, we found some abnormalities in the echocardiogram. And we want to do some more imaging to be sure. I think I know what it is, but I want to do a little bit more imaging to be sure. We want to inject dye and then take pictures so we can see exactly what's going on. And so my son goes downstairs. My wife takes him downstairs to do this imaging. And we come back up and she says, it's confirmed. What she thought was happening is what is happening. So my son had a coronary artery that was positioned from birth in the wrong place. It was protruding out of his aorta in the wrong place. Now, they didn't know the extent of it until they were able to operate. So we're hearing this for the first time. And my wife was like, are you telling me that my son has to have open heart surgery? And she says, yes. Yes, your son's going to have open heart surgery. This is something that has to be repaired. So we're processing this. I immediately start praying. There's no need in worrying. This is what I've learned. If you're going to pray, don't worry. And if you're going to worry, don't pray. So I pray and God gives me immediate peace. Yes, thoughts enter my mind. Yes, I don't know all the answers, but God gives me peace. He gives me peace. And I'm super grateful for that. Not only that, but the doctor that we had was so wonderful that her demeanor, her spirit gave my wife peace. And that meant a lot to me because now my wife is not panicking. She's not freaking out. Yes, it's a lot to take in, but God has granted us peace. So a few weeks go by and it's time for surgery. Now, here's another beautiful thing that I have to share with you, how God has lined everything up. We're supposed to go see Dr. A, but we end up with Dr. B. Dr. B is who we'd be with anyway down the road. But here's another beautiful thing. The surgeon that is going to do the operation is known throughout the world as the premier specialist for this exact surgery. God lined up another thing. Okay, here's another thing God lines up. Our doctor, our cardiologist, Dr. B, is creating a team that is studying the exact disorder, the exact issue that my son is having. There's a group of people and grants are being written that they are coming together and they're tag teaming, learning more about this situation. I'm like, Lord, I see your hand all through this. And when we get through this, Lord, I will tell the world what you have done for us. And so I'm sharing with you how good God is, right? So he goes into surgery and we're sitting in the waiting room for hours. Like we get there at 6:30 in the morning. And they bring him back around 8:20, right? 8:20, my wife and I were sitting with him, waiting on them to take him back to the procedure room. And then they take him back to the procedure room and we go to the waiting room. We're in the waiting room probably from about 9 in the morning until we finally got to see him at 5:30 in the evening. A full day's worth of wondering, of sitting, of thinking. But God has given us peace, right? Every time the nurse entered the room, the first time she entered the room, I saw my wife's face. She was nervous. Okay, what happened? And the nurse says, all right, we're about to begin. About to begin? I'm thinking y'all should be done by now, right? So she comes back in every few hours just to let us know everything is going well. They're about to open him up. They're about to put him on bypass. They're about to start the surgery. They finished the surgery, but they want to check one more time to make sure that the doctor's satisfied the results. That they want to do another echo to make sure everything looks good before sewing him back up. All right, they come back in. He's off the bypass. His heart is beating on its own. Everything is perfect. And hopefully we'll be able to see him in about another hour. And God is good. So we go back into the ICU to see my son in recovery. And he's still not totally awake. He's like struggling to come out of the anesthesia. So my wife and I, we stay up as long as we can. We keeping our eyes open as long as we can. It's 11 o'clock at night. He's made a few words. He's talked a little bit, but it's been, man, we're tired. So we go to the little sleep rooms that they have for us. And we rest and we jump up first thing in the morning. We come back and he's sitting up in the bed and he's talking. God is good. Then they move him from the ICU to his own room, right? God is good. Less than 24 hours after his surgery, after open heart surgery, my 12-year-old son is walking down the hallway.
Look at that. Let's go. I was like, what is your superpower? He's got a fan. When did he wake up last night? Did they say? What else do you like to do for fun besides basketball?
And walking up steps.
This is incredible. And then you can just turn around on the stairs if you want to. That's good, yeah. I got you.
God is good. God is good. He's in a little bit of pain, but it's not from the incision. It's not from the surgery. It's from the tubes that are inside of him that is removing the fluid from his heart and his lungs. And they told us that would be the main culprit, the thing that most young people say causes them the most discomfort. But he's a trooper. He's doing his very best to be strong. So then my wife, she knows a lot of people want to say hello. A lot of people want to show their support. She organizes a Zoom call so that everyone can know what's going on with him and also encourage him. And I want to say thank you to all of you who tuned in on the Zoom, who gave us your support, your prayers. We felt that. We love you. We honor you. We appreciate everything that you did for our son. Okay. All right. So now we have made it through a couple days. They're getting ready to take out the tube that was removing the fluid. So hopefully he'll be in less pain. And we get through that. Everything's looking good. They want to do another echocardiogram before we leave. They can do another x-ray before we leave. They do another EKG before we leave. Everything is looking good. It's time to leave. It's time to go home. We're super grateful, super thankful for everything that Vanderbilt Hospital has done for us. But more so, we're super thankful and super grateful for everything that God has done for us. And I share this video, this testimony with you all, just to remind you of the God that we serve, that you could take all your troubles to him and all your pains and all your uncertainties, take it all to him, because he will carry these burdens with you or for you. But when he does a good thing for you, tell the world what God has done. This is my attempt to share with you all how good God has been in our family, in hopes that it will encourage you in your faith to trust him for whatever you're going through. All right, are you ready for the surprise from my son? Here it is. Question: who would you say is the worst team in the NFL? You don't know?
I'm just hungry.
You're hungry? Who's the worst team in the NFL?
The Cowboys.
Cowboys. Thank you, sir. All right, now, he may have just had open heart surgery, but his heart was in the right place. That's my boy. That's my boy. God bless you guys. Thank you for tuning in, for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead and subscribe. There's a lot of great information, a lot of great insight that I plan to share with you throughout this year to encourage you on your spiritual journey. I want to be a vessel used by God to encourage as many people as possible. So click that like button, click the subscribe button, and share today's video with someone that you know needs to hear how good God is and what God will do for them as well. God bless you guys. Until we meet again.